Hey guys, thanks for stopping by my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do some practical life Montessori activities using items that you can find at the Dollar Tree. So when we go on over there, I'm going to be looking for some St. Patrick's Day materials and see what we can find. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the items that I got at the Dollar Tree. I'm also going to use some items that I have in my own home as well. Now the first thing I picked up was a tray, because in Montessori we use a tray to define the children's workspace. So children may be working at a table along with other children, but their materials are going to be on the shelf on a tray just similar to this one. And this tray is going to allow other children to know that this is a specific child's workspace. Other children are not invited to enter this workspace or touch this workspace. This belongs to the particular child that is doing the work on the tray. The next thing that I got were these small little cups. These are actually perfect because while they are small to us, they're actually a great size for a child to pick up and hold. So I got some buttons right here, and in a minute you'll see why I picked those up. I found some cute little St. Patrick's Day hats here that could be used for putting something in. I'm not sure what we're going to do with those yet, but I picked those up. I picked up some green marbles here. I picked up some green pebbles, and I picked up some large sequins that are St. Patrick's Day themed, and I also went ahead and got a green bowl. Okay, so the first activity I'm going to show you is a dry pouring activity. So you're going to do the dry pouring before you would use a liquid in the cup, just because in Montessori that would be the sequence that you would go in. You want to do dry before wet. So what you would do is you're going to tell the child to go very slowly, very slowly. They're going to place the cup down, and then they're going to repeat it on the other side. So now they're going to take it the other one, and they're going to pour it back in. Very slowly. Okay. And you're going to let the child do this however many times that they want to do this. If they make a spill when they're trying to pour, if they spill some, then not a big deal. You can teach them to use their two fingers right here, and they can pick up the pebbles and place them gently into the cup. You don't want them to feel like they have failed, because we learn from our mistakes, and that's okay. Now, you may have noticed that I started with the pebbles in the cup on the left-hand side. We always start in Montessori with materials that are on the left-hand side and move them over to the right-hand side, because that's how we read. We read left to right. So at a young age, we're teaching them and teaching their eye to be trained to go from left to right. So that is why the cup on the left is filled first. All right, the next activity I'm going to show you is a spooning activity. Now you want to keep in mind that when you do this with your child, you want to give them a smaller size spoon that they can easily manipulate. I took the sequins that I had shown you earlier, and I went ahead, I put them into one of the St. Patrick's Day hats. I picked these out because they're nice and glittery, and I thought that they would be kind of appealing to the eye. They just look fun, and they fit in with our St. Patrick's Day theme. All right, so here what you're going to do is you're going to take the spoon, hold the container, and just very gently and very slowly, you're going to transfer from left to right. And when you're showing this to a child in Montessori, you're going to use as few words as possible. You want them to have all of their attention on the activity. Right now I'm talking just to show you what to do, but when you actually demonstrate this to a child, you're literally going to use as few words as you possibly can. You may just remind them again to do it nice and slowly. And we're just going to be spooning that over. Now, I understand that this may seem monotonous to you. This may seem like it would get boring, but another point of this activity is so that they can build concentration. And you know, you really want them to be able to sit and to concentrate on an activity. And this helps them to be able to do that. They're going very slowly. The goal is to get all of the sequins into the other container. And then of course they're gonna go back again without spilling. And to a child, they love doing things like this. They think this is a wonderful activity. I've seen kids sit for very long periods of time doing spooning activities. And then, like I said again, then you're going to want to have them spoon it back over to the other side. For the next activity, I took those buttons that I had shown earlier, and what I did was I went ahead and I hot glued them to a piece of cardstock. Now, if you're going to do this with a child, you're going to want to take the pin off the back, but for this demonstration, I just went ahead and left them on. So this is going to be a matching activity, and matching activities can be thought of as an early math skill. And the reason for this is because you're teaching children how to sort and classify objects and see similarities and differences between other objects. So what we're going to do is the tray will be laid out just like this, and they're going to go ahead, they're going to pick a button. Of course, it's this one. They're going to start at the top, and of course, right there, they're going to place it next to that one. Now let's see what happens. I'm going to purposefully see if I can find one that's not going to be the second button. Let's see if we can find, okay. So they're going to take a button. Of course, they're going to be doing this randomly. I'm just picking for purpose, and they're going to go down. They're going to say, huh, nope, doesn't match. Nope. Yep, that's it, that's a match. And they're going to lay it next to the same button. And they're going to go ahead and they're going to go through and they're going to do the same process with all of their little buttons. And that's it. There you have a matching activity. The next activity is going to be a hand transfer activity. So again, I've used those cute little glitter hats for my containers, and I went ahead and filled up the left one with some marbles. So for this activity, what we're going to do is we're going to show the children the finger placement that we want them to use, and they're going to simply just one at a time place the marbles into the opposite container. And they're going to be doing this much slower than I'm doing right now. Again, this is just for show. they can peek inside. Let's make sure. Oh, okay, we've got them all. Now when they go ahead and they switch them back over, you can go ahead and have them use their other hand. There's no harm in strengthening the muscles on both sides. So they can go ahead and get practice doing it with their opposite hand as well. And I'm not going to do the whole thing. You know what to do, but they're going to put them all back into the other container. This next activity is something that we call bubble beating. Now in the Montessori classroom, this is going to have a lot of steps involved in it, but odds are your house is not a Montessori classroom. So this is just a fun activity that you can do with your child with maybe fewer steps than would actually be expected in the classroom. So you're going to have your cup of water here and going to slowly, once again, they're going to pour, and the child is going to do this. The child's going to pour the water in to the container. Now in a Montessori classroom, the child would at this point raise their hand. The teacher would come over and the child would request some soap. And the teacher would put a squirt of soap into the container. At home, obviously, they can ask you for some soap. You're going to put some soap into their container. Just a little bit is all you need. And they're going to use a whisk. And basically, they're just going to stir it up, and they're just going to make bubbles. And they're going to whisk it and whisk it and whisk it. Now, an extension to this activity would be to add food coloring to the water. They can ask you for whatever food coloring you have, whatever you have on hand. And an extension to that even would be to add 2 colors, and they can see, you know, the difference between a primary color and a secondary color. You know, ooh, what color can we make this time? You know, what happens if we add yellow and red together? What color do you think we'll get? And then, you know, they can mix up their bubbles and they can see what color they're going to get. This is a really fun activity. Anything that has to do with water is usually a hit with kids. So this one is definitely a fun one. It's a fun activity. You could do this in the summertime outside. Kids love it. In the Montessori classroom, the second part of this process would be that they would actually carry this bowl by themselves to a sink. They would slowly pour the water out. They would come back to their work area. They would use a cloth. They would wipe out the bowl. They would put the cloth into a laundry. They would get a new cloth and put the new cloth on the mat. Make sure that everything is wiped down nice and neat. At home, again, you can kind of alter this activity and do it how you wish, but that is the idea behind bubble beating. When doing these activities, the object is to demonstrate the activity to the child and then allow the child to do the activity by themselves. Now, there's going to be spills. There's going to be times when the child is not quite able to do the activity 100% correctly the first time, and that's perfectly fine. We learn through our mistakes, and the more that they do the activity and the more that they are able to repeat the activity, they're eventually going to be able to master it. We want to be there as a guide for the child. We don't want to be there to do the work for them. All right, I hope you liked today's video. If you would like to see more videos on ideas for Montessori activities or just preschool activities in general, leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.